Yes, I know. Zohran is speaking now. I love that this community does the exact same thing that they were doing to Bernie, but now to Zohran. It's like, we don't have to listen every time he speaks, okay? We can get the highlights after the fact, okay? Here, he's making an announcement. Here, huh? Okay.
Everybody down. Down, please. Miss, can you? Thank you. Excuse me, everybody down.
I can already tell people are going to be really parasocial with Zohran for like the first half of the year, and then the second half of the year they're going to turn on him dramatically. They're going to hate on him because he's going to do a bunch of things that, you know, politicians do, where he will disappoint you, and then you will lose your mind over it.
Phones down.
Okay. Is everybody good with the shot?
No.
Yes?
We can't stand up because they're
Good by the press? Is Joe Anuda sitting on the floor somewhere? No? My goodness.
Oh, that's a Hassan Abi head.
Stills, please.
That's
Okay.
New York. That's New York City DSA.
Good afternoon, everyone.
I met her. I met her at the Zohran after party. She's one of the team leads. New York
1
City
year
DSA
ago,
shouts out.
This month, hundreds of New Yorkers.
She was in one of the Zohran videos as well, wearing the John Brown merch. God damn, I know my community.
It was 6 months before
I know my community no matter where they're at, dude. It's crazy.
We were in the low single digits in the polls at best.
Did you two
Every
fall
ounce of
out or something? What, me and
conventional
Zohran?
wisdom
No.
Said that our campaign was not supposed to work. Surely, there was a better way to spend a Saturday than knocking on doors, talking to strangers, and crossing the small but real distances that separate us from one another. And yet, New Yorkers showed up at a moment when so many people feel isolated from one another and distant from a political system
Zohran and
that can
Hassan
feel
have grown apart,
closed
chatter.
or unresponsive.
No.
They made a deliberate
Wait, are you
choice
mad at him? What is
not
happening?
to be bystanders, but to become participants.
You guys need to stop being
Their own
babies.
politics and their own vision for New York City being the driving force behind what they were going to do.
Stop
And that meant
trolling.
knocking on doors of people who lived just blocks away but whom they had never met. It meant asking questions instead of assuming answers. It meant listening instead of lecturing, finding common ground. And that experience taught us something simple and profound. Democracy works best when people are not treated as an audience, but as an active part of it. Governing demands the same. That is why we are here today. We are gathered at Grand Army Plaza, surrounded by powerful symbols of public life. The central branch of the Brooklyn Public Library, designed like an open book, a statement that knowledge should be shared and accessible to all. The Soldiers and Sailors Arch, a Civil War monument honoring those who fought in a war waged for a new birth of freedom and the expansion of democracy itself. Prospect Park. Public space built not to be exclusive or ornamental, but to be shared. These are reminders of a belief that once guided this city, that public infrastructure should be generous, beautiful, and open. But a city is not held together by buildings alone. It is held together by trust and by whether people feel connected to the decisions that shape their life. That social infrastructure has been neglected for too long.
Disappointed that he has not abolished commodity production. Yeah, me too, man.
Too often people are
I thought
input,
every
but
landlord
never
in
see
the
how it
state
shapes
of New York,
outcomes.
not even New York City, in the state of
Today,
New York was
that
going to
changes.
jail.
With
Why
the
has he
signing of this
not
executive
imprisoned
order,
every
We
landlord?
will be establishing the Mayor's Office of Mass Engagement. A fundamental part of city government dedicated to rebuilding our social infrastructure at scale. This office, combining and reorienting the existing Community Affairs Unit, Public Engagement Unit, and other initiatives, starts from a simple premise. Working New Yorkers
Yeah, the
know
mass line.
what
He's
they
doing a mass
need
line. He's
to
a
thrive.
Maoist. He's a
Our job
Maoist.
is
We
to
knew
make
it
sure
already.
government listens
Zohran
consistently
Mamdani.
and with real consequence.
Zohran
The Office of Mass
Mamdani.
Engagement will organize participation across this city, proactively reach those that have been excluded, and ensure that public feedback is embedded directly into how we design policies, deliver services, and make decisions. And to lead this work, I am proud to announce that Tasha Van Auken will serve as
I am
commissioner.
Zohran's Lin Biao, okay? Eventually I will betray him and die in a mysterious plane incident.
Since President Obama's first campaign,
Eventually, I will betray him and die in a mysterious plane incident, and I will be struck from all the records, despite my unlimited support and unconditional loyalty to the great chairman.
Turn priorities into action. On our campaign, she mobilized more than 100,000 volunteers who knocked on more than 3 million
When is he hunting down the renegade Kumatang? It's coming. Kumatang. It's coming. He's doing it with this guy.
Not just to win an election, but to build leadership and a real sense of community.
Dude, I did
across
see
the
Walton
city.
the Goat Goggins there.
also
It
spent
made
many
me
years
so
working in the
happy.
Blue Man Group,
This made me so
which
happy.
means
My
she
goat was at the
brings
New
both
York
organizing
inauguration.
discipline
It's
and
so
an
sick.
unusual tolerance for chaos.
Big Walt.
The Office of Mass Engagement reflects how we intend to govern, with humility, openness, and a firm belief that democracy is strongest when it belongs to the people, not just in theory, but in practice. And we should be clear about how this work will be judged, not by how many meetings we hold or surveys we collect, but by whether people can see their voices reflected in the decisions that we make. Judge us by whether engagement changes outcomes. Just as past generations invested in the public spaces around us, this administration is investing in the civic fabric that holds our city together. And that same commitment to openness,
Making his campaign
participation,
organizer a city-funded
and rebuilding
organizer is
trust
so
in our
sick.
institutions guides how we approach every part of city government.
Yeah,
That is
it's really
why
good. There's a
today
lot
I am
of
also
there's a lot of
announcing
good stuff that he's
Ali
doing.
Najmi will serve as chair of the Mayor's Advisory Committee on
Like
the Judiciary.
developing a front org that is basically Obama for America.
Ali's
That's
leadership,
virtually
this committee will take
almost
on a
entirely
more
comprised of
public
like
and
DSA
engaged
leadership
role,
and
reaching
DSA
beyond
members
City Hall to the
is an
wider
excellent move.
legal community.
It's exactly what you need to
Demystifying the
apply
judicial
consistent
selection
pressure.
process, expanding who participates in shaping our courts, and ensuring that our city's judicial system applies the rule of law universally and does so without favor. This includes proactive engagement with legal services organizations, bar associations, and minority and affinity bars, with the goal of widening the pipeline and strengthening confidence in our judiciary.
Everyone was already
Ali
complaining.
is a
They're
civil
like,
rights and election attorney with deep experience in our local courts.
they were complaining
A
yesterday because of his
longtime
housing
bar
executive
association
orders and
leader
going to
who
like
has helped
low-income
diversify the
housing
judiciary
directly.
in Queens, and someone
And
I've
everyone was like,
known
"Oh
and
wow,
admired
you're going to
for more than
complain
a
about the
decade.
low-income
As a
housing? I
friend,
guess no
an
one's going to
attorney,
want to build
and a
housing
leader in
anymore
this
in New
city.
York City." It's like,
Tasha
dude,
Van
you're
Auken,
giving the game away. If the
welcome
only
to a
way
new
that you
era in
build
New York
housing
City.
is if it's
I look
dog
forward
shit
to
and you
building
just
it
keep
with
them in
you
a state of
together.
disrepair, as you consistently bring up rents, like you're not only admitting to being a bad person, okay? You're admitting to being a bad person. You're basically giving the game away.
Mayor. And thank you to everyone who's here today. As a kid growing up in Park Slope and later Flatbush, the Brooklyn Public Library, this branch, was a constant in my life. Its soaring facade and open entrance felt like an invitation. A
Yeah,
promise that knowledge,
yesterday's speech when he was talking about, for the record, yesterday, one of the main lines that he had that I personally obviously loved, I think Zohran speechwriter is the GOAT. I've talked about him before. He does a really good job of voicing a lot of values in a way that is like endlessly palatable. One of the lines that he had from yesterday's speech that people really freaked out over was when he said that we will get the tender, warm embrace of no longer will we abide by rugged individualism, and we will look for the warm embrace of collectivism. And everybody lost their minds over it. Do we have a link to that moment? Because that was basically the entirety of like liberals and Republicans alike. It was very interesting to see, not just the
Communities have
Republicans. Not just the Republicans. And by the way, this is a bar.
Existed as distinct from one another. We will draw this city closer together. We will replace the frigidity of rugged individualism with the warmth of collectivism.
So Republicans heard that and were like, oh my God, they're going to assassinate. It's the Cultural Revolution. They're going to assassinate every landlord, all this stuff, right? It's really interesting and really funny to see how these guys react to statements like this, right? Liberals were also freaking out over this as well. They were genuinely losing their minds. Sean McCarthy had a really decent take on this. He said he's quite clever in that he clearly knew using the term collectivism would cause the sort of hysterical meltdown we've seen. One of the few people who learned real lessons from Trump. Make the other side overreact and you look unhinged. And you see that from like the Fox News audience. David Sachs, how many people have died because of collectivist political experiments? List them. At Grok. The warmth you feel is the city's hand in your pocket. Probably sounded better in Russian. Here's what the difference between those two look like. North Korea, South Korea. Like, dude, okay, China is right there. Okay, China is right there. You can see the lights on there too. If this is like the peak of development, you gotta cut China out of the picture. Okay, if you want to make this argument, right? Lights versus no lights, checkmate, atheists. It's also one of those things that I always find so stupid because a lot of these guys love Japan, right? And for all of its faults and failures, it's xenophobic, it's hyper-capitalist, dystopian, all this stuff. The only thing that has kept Japanese society together, in spite of it basically being a fleshlight for an island specifically designed for American interests, an island that actually was a major economic force in the world until America decided to shut off the faucet with the Plaza Accords and directly stagnate their economy deliberately. The only reason why Japan has survived through all of the ups and downs is because of their collectivist principles, in spite of being a capitalist dystopia. Okay? So if you like Japan, if you are one of those guys that's like, Pog, Japan, I love Japan, Japan is so sick, even though they are a somewhat socially conservative country in many respects, but then also very socially liberal in others. It's very strange. It's not the same, right? Even though they have a horrible work culture and whatnot, they do have long-standing collectivist principles in Japan that have made the society work in spite of capitalism to a certain degree. So I know that people like to say, well, we like Japan because it's like a right wing, it's xenophobic, it's they don't let any migrants in or whatever. And it's like, yeah, it's true. That's why they're dying. That's why they are. It's an entire country that is currently committing suicide. South Korea, kind of Japan without the collectivism. No, South Korea has a lot of collectivist elements as well. I mean, many of these countries have for thousands of years been impacted by what I would say is Chinese values, and not just Chinese values, but yeah, Confucianism and its influence. And it's definitely one aspect of it. Hyper meritocratic. That's definitely ingrained Confucianist principles, right? In any case, they're calling him Hamas. Yeah, but I did love this line, and I did love how much people got mad about this.
Campaign demonstrated that the people of New York yearn for solidarity, then let this government foster it. Because no matter what you eat, how you pray, or where you come from, the words that most define us are the two we all share: New Yorkers.
Anyway, the people are just state goons and accounts on Twitter, to be fair, people like him. Look, there is a lot of anger and resentment towards these statements expressed by Zohran Mamdani. I find it very funny. We will obviously look at the HOG meltdown over it, right? Marshall, when people say, oh my God, he's talking like a democratic socialist, he is a democratic socialist. He's not lying. He ran on this. Guys, we have to warn you, it's bad.
But all that being said, I do want to comment on the new mayor, who was elected by a majority of the population of voters. And when people are like, oh my God, he's talking like a democratic socialist. He is a democratic socialist.
Ever talked to Chinese expats? Have you ever talked to Chinese expats and their view on communism? Yes and no, I have. But also, There are a lot of, content creators that are Chinese expats whose entire output is talking about how China is shitty and it's going to die any day now. It's basically to soothe Americans with a lullaby that like our number one arch enemy is really terrifying, but also incredibly weak, and on a moment's notice it will actually fall apart. And they regularly talk about me. I don't really place a lot of emphasis on what those people have to say. I don't necessarily care. I mean, it's good. It's good to hear from them. It's good to hear their perspective.
Socialist. He's not lying to you. He ran on this. This is what he said he was going to do. Affordable housing. By the way, right now, there are polls showing majority of Americans want the rich to be taxed now. Majority of Americans want affordability, and it's not just my side of the aisle. I don't feel it was a communist message. I thought it was right on point with what he campaigned, and I do agree with what you said. He's coming in and going, I'm going to put away the executive orders. We're going to start with a clean slate. By the way, the first executive order that he is putting back, and he said when he's putting back, is to keep the anti-Semitism task force in place, which is obviously not anti-Semitic. He also has more Jewish people in his cabinet than his predecessor right now, and he hasn't even finished hiring people. And at the end of the day, I hope, whether it's a Democrat or Republican in any city, and whether I live there full-time like Los Angeles or some of the time like I do here in New York, that it's successful. We should all hope for success when it comes to the economy and crime, city by city, state by state. And
Day 2 in Zohran Mamdani's New York. I watched a gaggle of financial analysts get zip-tied and marched into an unmarked van. A man ordered a latte with a whole milk in front of me in line, and the barista immediately shot him in the head. This is real. It's happening. Also, Zohran Mamdani did say that he was elected as a democratic socialist and he will govern as a democratic socialist, which was awesome to hear.